I've played my fair share of indie martial arts games in 2025. Today I want to highlight two games that are in some ways similar to each other, but both have something very different to offer. If you're both into indie games as well as martial arts, you might enjoy these two as well as the three I featured in the previous video. Check it out here. Also, if you hear some kind of sniffling and tapping, it's the dog. I have a dog here. Anyway, first game for today is 1000 Cuts Jomaku. First off, what is Jomaku? Helpfully, the game's Steam page informs us that
Jomaku, Curtain Raiser is a short act or a monologue to introduce a longer kabuki play. A preview.
So, as it says, this is a free demo for a longer upcoming game. 1000 Cuts, developed and published by Banjo Toad Studio, is a side-scrolling samurai-themed sword-fighting game full of charming, retro-esque pixel art, where you take on other sword-wielding fighters in short bouts where every move counts. In the game, you're tasked with taking on the army of 1000 men, led by your father. You can either go with your family heirloom sword, the Dragon's Fang, and take their lives, or save your conscience by taking on every opponent with the bokken your dear master entrusted you with. If you choose to take the blade, you and your opponents both die in one strike. If you take the bokken, you make things a bit more difficult on yourself, because you have to strike down every opponent in the room before the first ones have time to get back up. How does the combat work then? You have two stances, unprepared and prepared. In the unprepared stance you move quicker and can turn easier, but your strike is lower and you get caught by your opponent's high slashes. In the prepared stance you automatically dodge high strikes and do a faster Iaido-style nukitsuke, or a draw and cut, as well as a dash to nothing personnel your opponents. Also, you can jump to dodge your opponent's low strikes or block for middle cuts. With such simple mechanics, does the game stay interesting for long? I'd say yes, because every screen you go through is its own little mini stage with environmental hazards like lanterns and stoves. You can use these to take out your opponents or burn yourself if you're not careful. And should you choose the non-lethal path, these are extra hazards with which you can accidentally kill your opponents. Full game, according to the Steam page, also seems to involve some more fantastical skills. The demo itself has two boss fights for you to take on. Both are surprisingly difficult and challenge your knowledge of the mechanics in interesting ways. How about the thing I usually focus on? Authentic depiction of martial arts? Well, as someone who has done very little sword fighting, I can't really attest to the game's realism or authenticity, but I think the game is less concerned with realism and more with referencing classic samurai media like Seven Samurais and Yojimbo, and old school video games with toggles for Kurosawa mode, CRT and Game Boy modes to boost up the ambience. Is 1000 Cuts Jomaku worth trying? I'd definitely say so. Even if the full game's more fantastical elements don't interest you, I'd say the demo is worth playing through at least once. Twice if you want to go both routes. It took me 2.5 hours to finish on stream and I had quite a lot of fun with it. And the story was fairly engaging and well written, with the main character Hiro having something to talk about each and every one of the opponents you face. The demo is on Steam right now, so if it interests you at all, give it a go and maybe even support their Kickstarter. The second demo I wanted to highlight today is Forestrike. Developed by Skeleton Crew Studio and published by Devolver Digital, is a tactical 2D action roguelike with a classic wuxia aesthetic and again delightfully charming pixel art style. In Forestrike you play as the last disciple of the Order of Forestrike, a group of martial artists with a unique foresight ability, the skill to fight battles over and over in your mind before engaging the enemy. Basically, the game works as a martial arts puzzle game where, using your foresight, you can try different solutions to fighting your opponents until you find and execute the right combination of moves. You have your light and heavy strikes, vigilance, which works as a dodge, and block when using a weapon like a stick or a bench. As the game is a roguelike, you also get different variables that change your game plan slightly. For example, here with 5 enemies, with 3 of them using projectiles, I could either strike all 3 projectiles out of the air and beat the opponent one by one, or I could light punch the first guy, and with the eye poke attribute he turns around and throws his projectile at the opponent behind him. After that I dodge the stick flying at me and it hits the first guy. This way I've already caused damage to 2 opponents and I've only thrown 1 punch myself. Every single fight works like this, and the further you play, the more little tricks and tactics you learn. You can practice the fight for as long as you want using your foresight. After that, you take on your opponents for real, and any damage sustained in the actual fight carries on to the next. So be sure to grind the fight in your mind as many times as you need to execute your game plan flawlessly. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat in video games, the action is usually very hectic and aggressive, so this kind of more mindful approach to fighting is a welcome change of pace from time to time. The techniques used here are also pretty authentic. As it is more of a puzzle game than your typical beat-em up, you don't have that many different strikes at your disposal. You have your basic 2-strike light combo of a straight punch followed by a spinning back fist. Your heavy strike is a sliding sidekick. The vigilant dodge is a fittingly flashy and nonchalant for a wuxia hero and looks fairly cool. It throws the attacker behind you, which isn't really possible if your opponent isn't charging at you blindly and with their full body weight, but it does make you feel like a really cool dude, so I don't mind. I wouldn't try to punch a stick thrown at you from the air, but to be fair, I am also not a master of foresight. So, do I recommend it? I've played the demo for about an hour now, and it has been a charming game so far. The story is interesting and worth a try at least. My reaction times are garbage, so sometimes playing fighting games is frustrating. In Forestrike, you can grind the same fight as many times as you need to feel like you get it. It's basically the same thing as pounding your head against the wall with a boss fight in something like Nioh or Dark Souls, but with the aesthetic of doing it in your mind before the actual fight, it feels less frustrating to me at least. And then when you're ready to try the real fight, it still feels exciting and dangerous. If you're interested, the full game is out 17th of November 2025, so be on the lookout for that. And the demo is free right now. That was a couple indie martial arts titles to keep your eyes on. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you decide to try one of these, or both, come back here and let me know what you thought about them. If you're interested in more martial arts and video game content, sub to the channel, follow our socials, and come hang in the Twitch chat where I play all these indie titles. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!